Well, thank you, Scott. Thank you for your leadership and for facilitating this today and for everything that the Alliance for American Manufacturing is doing to help continue to accelerate the renaissance in manufacturing that's going on across our great country today. And I'd like to thank Tammy Baldwin for joining me as the co-leader of Manufacturing Jobs for America. I am thrilled at the broad range of senators who will be joining us. We have several committees meeting right now, including an appropriations meeting that Senator Baldwin and I and Senator Merkley and Senator Murphy, as well as many others, are participating in. So please be understanding as some of the senators are going to have to come and go, and our schedule may be a little different than we had first laid out. And I'm excited that Jeff Zients, head of the National Economic Council, will be joining us shortly to discuss progress that this administration has made and the challenges that remain. And I'm grateful to folks in my office, to Brian and to Peter and to Eric and many others who've worked so hard to pull us together today and to support the innovative agenda that Manufacturing Jobs for America has put forward. As you heard in Scott's gracious introduction, I'm from a manufacturing family, and I spent 8 years working for W.L. Gordon Associates, an advanced materials manufacturer in Delaware. And I got a very up-close and personal exposure in that work to what kind of a difference manufacturing jobs make for American families. That manufacturing is not just something that's been a bulwark of our country going back to Alexander Hamilton, but is a part of our future as well. And we have hard work to do here in the Senate and across the country to help persuade Americans that we in public policy can make a lasting and meaningful difference in strengthening and accelerating the opportunities presented before us by manufacturing in this century. You know, virtually every day I commute back and forth by Amtrak from my hometown of Wilmington. And on that ride, I go past the former site of the Newark, Delaware Chrysler plant. When I first ran for office in 2000, one of the things I loved doing was going to the plant gates and meeting the men and women of UAW 1183 as they did shift change, either going in or going out. This was a 60-year-old factory that employed 3,500 people, had some of the greatest performance metrics in the country, had great labor management relations, and was the bedrock of a whole series of communities around it that had been the center of the middle class for my community for 2 generations. Well, today that plant is not just closed, it's gone. Its site is leveled. There are a few small startup manufacturers on that site. There are some jobs that have come back to it, but it is to me a haunting reminder of the jobs lost over the last few decades. And as I think about the work that I want to do here today, that we want to do together here in the United States Senate and across the country, it's to restore the opportunities that manufacturing did provide over generations, and I'm convinced can provide again today. But we have to recognize where we are and where we aren't. Things have changed in manufacturing. The skills that we need, the investment and support and infrastructure that we need, the policy framework that we need. Manufacturing is still an important part of my state. There's more than 25,000 Delawareans working in manufacturing today. And across the country, nearly 12 million Americans are employed in stable, high-wage, high-skill manufacturing jobs. But around the world, we face a more competitive environment than ever. So if we're going to compete in a new knowledge-driven economy, in a new truly globalized economy, we have to make sure that recent high school graduates, that engineering graduates from the high school and college and university level, that apprenticeships are reskilled, refocused, and retooled to meet the demands and needs of modern manufacturing. I want to just say a few encouraging things and then hand this over to Senator Baldwin, since I know I've got at least 2 other colleagues who are waiting for me to conclude my already overly lengthy remarks. First is that manufacturing is something that can and should be bipartisan. It can lift all boats in the United States. It can be an opportunity avenue in the United States, and we should be able to find pathways towards bipartisan bills. In Manufacturing Jobs for America, we have a group of 22 senators who have crafted more than a dozen bills in this Congress, some of which are bipartisan, but not all, some of which are still seeking for Republicans willing to work across the aisle to make progress. Last year, we made some real progress. The Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act included 5 different policy ideas that came out of MJA in the last Congress. There's a bill that Senator Peters and I have done to strengthen the Manufacturing Extension Partnership that just came out of a markup on the Commerce Committee. There's great work that Senator Booker and others are doing on apprenticeship through his LEAP Act and others. As was mentioned in the introduction, the R&D tax credit has been made permanent and accessible to startups for the first time. The Defend Trade Secrets Act, a bipartisan bill, has been signed into law. And the Manufacturing Universities Bill, which was co-sponsored by Senators Baldwin and Gillibrand, Franklin, Ayotte, and Graham, has passed through the NDAA in the Senate and is on its way to making a difference in how curricula are designed and developed in partnership with manufacturers at universities around the country. These are just a few examples. And before I go on any further, let me just say that what I hope we are doing is working together to deal with the problems facing manufacturers today and working past the dysfunction here in Congress. Whether it's making sure we break the gridlock that's keeping EXIM from being more functional than it could be, whether it's addressing business tax reform issues, whether it's investing in infrastructure, whether it's changing the approach of markets from short-termism to a focus on the long term, the kind of investment that can lift up and sustain manufacturing. There's a lot we can be doing together. I want to thank all of you for taking time out of your day, for the associations and the offices that you represent, and I hope you will listen to these members who are passionate about manufacturing from very different states, from the heartland of Ohio to the Northwest in Wisconsin, all the way out to the state of Hawaii. There are senators in our caucus and in MJA who are passionate about manufacturing and who are convinced that if we listen and if we work together, there's no limit to the difference we can make.